Hey everyone, and welcome to the Art of Online Marketing live show. My name is Allison, and I help entrepreneurs grow with social media and live video. So on today's show, I have a special guest for you, and today's title is Understanding the Customer Journey, and my guest is Shaun Whynacht. So before we get started to talk about all these things and to bring Shaun in, I want to remind everyone that nominations are now open for for the social media business board. So if you know a great business doing great things on social media, I invite you to head over and nominate them. So you can do that on strategic.ca slash social media business awards, and there's a dash in between each word. So that is social media business awards. All right, so I'm going to bring in my guest if I know how. All right, so here I have Shaun Whynacht. And for Shaun Whynacht, small business is a way of life. And in fact, the entrepreneurial spirit is practically woven into his DNA. He told me that as a small boy, he used to tag along with his grandfather as he maintained a successful TV repair business. Then later, he helped renovate the kitchen for his grandmother's cake shop. And all the while, his mother ran a craft business in his childhood home. So unsurprisingly, by the time he was in high school, Shaun went into business for himself. Upon completion of his college studies in television production, he spent more than a decade exploring every corner of Canada and learning about the business world as an employee. So from nonprofits to corporations and revenue development to web design, Shaun has seen it all. Welcome to the show, Shaun.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm excited for today.
That's great. All right, so Shaun is with Blue Cow Marketing, and my first question is, does that name have any particular significance?
Not really. I get asked that all the time, and it came down to I wanted a business name that people would remember,
Mhm.
that would engage in conversation, and ultimately the website domain at the time was available, and that was really my deciding factor that pushed me over the edge to say that's the one. And over the years, whether it's been here on the East Coast, West Coast, or any point in between, since I ran that business, everybody's always stopped and said, what's with the name? Like I could always remember it, and it was purposeful, right? So that was it's worked well for me.
That's great. So you're the owner of Blue Cow Marketing, and tell me us and the viewers a little bit more about what it is that you do there.
Excellent. So since I started Blue Cow Marketing, like you mentioned in my introduction, my background is in video production. And over the years, I've evolved. And that's one of the things that I think that has really helped me stand the test of time and make it over that 5-year mark. I think we're going into year 9 now with the business, has been that you need to evolve. And over the years, we've kind of moved with the technology and the way that people have needed marketing. And what we really find our strength in is finding out what that story is about that business, what that client really loves about what they do. You think of Simon Sinek's the Purpose of Why. That's what we're really helping people do, and then use technology to tell that story and bring their customers into the story. And we'll talk more about that as we go on, and the purpose of how you position yourself for that.
Okay, that's great. So you mentioned technology and automation, and you told me before that you work with a lot of funnels. For those watching who might not know what a funnel is or what you mean by automation, can you give a little description of exactly what that means?
Yeah, for sure. So there's two words you threw out there. You used funnel and used automation. So we'll talk about those independently. When you think of a funnel, I just got a coffee cup here, so it's kind of like a good representation. But you put something in the top and it comes through the bottom. If we had a hole in the bottom, it would fall out through the bottom. And ultimately, the funnel in your marketing is exactly that, right? You're putting leads or contacts into the top, and they're going through a journey, right? They're going from the top down through, and obviously at the bottom, we want our customers to come out. Now that concept and model of a funnel, a lot of businesses look at it and say, okay, they struggle to develop what is their funnel. Well, you can have more than one funnel in your business. Your marketing can have its own funnel, your sales can have its own funnel, and your service can have its own funnel. And we think of it as the process, right? That way we want customers to flow through. And one of the things that I'm working on right now is going through a HubSpot certification, and your viewers may be aware of what HubSpot is. And they look at the concept of a flywheel, so an ever-evolving wheel that's turning between your marketing, your sales, and your service, because you may have somebody that comes into your business, as a, let's say you use web designer as an example. So they come in, you build a website, you deliver them, have a great experience. Now they might come back through the process because they need some social media marketing or ads done for you. So they go through again, right? So it's not just a one and done type of deal. And you have to be able to have that consistent flow through. And when you get that momentum moving, it's the same thing as pushing a big rock. Once you get it moving, it's so much easier to keep things going with that. Now, the other term, when you said marketing automation, that's using tools to eliminate those repeat tasks that you do over and over again. So you're probably familiar, and your viewers may be familiar with, somebody calls and says, hey, I'd like to book an appointment.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you can say, okay, well, how about next week? And they say, great, when's available? And you're back and forth 3 or 4 times. Well, using tools like Calendly or Schedule Once is another one. There's a lot of calendar scheduling tools out there. You can give somebody a link so they can pick a time that's available in their schedule, and then it puts them into your calendar. And it's just basically using automated technology to make that experience, that journey, a lot more fluent for your customer. So there's not as much friction. And we do that in different areas, from invoicing to billing to nurturing people. So when they come to your website and then they're over on social media, maybe they're being retargeted with content that talks more about the problems that you solve. Most people may be not even aware that they have a problem that you solve. So you need to educate them a bit about this problem exists and maybe you have it. And then when they identify that they do, then they move down that funnel to the next step, and maybe they're learning about how you solve that problem a lot differently than anyone else. And that's really how we help people get them through that whole story, so that they can see that journey and really see your business as the fit for that solution.
Mm-hmm. Got it. So why are implementing those two things in business, especially those who market themselves online, why is that so important?
Like, why is the marketing automation so important?
Yes.
It's important because, I mean, if you're watching this interview here and you're like me, I mean, Blue Cow Marketing has been a solopreneur business for as long as I've started. Now, I've got some freelancers that I work with, but I don't have a staff. I mean, I'm in an office here, and it's just me in here right now. And 99% of the time, that's what it is. But if I tried to do everything manually myself, I wouldn't have enough time to do it. So there's certain things that need to be in place to help people get through the process in a consistent format. So when somebody comes to my website and they book a consult and they get put into my database, if this is the first time they've been in there, they're going through what we call an indoctrination sequence, which they're going to get an email, automated one, that comes out to them the next day that says, hey, you know what, before we actually meet, I want to tell you a bit about who we are and what we're not. And then it gives them a picture of me and my family, and it humanizes who I am. So when we get on the call, they know more about me than if I was a complete stranger, right? They know exactly the purpose of why we do the business we do, and there makes that personal connection. Now, you may be listening to this and say, you know, I don't want to really share my personal family story. That's okay. It can be more about how do you service your clients and things like that. So it kind of eliminates that small talk that you need to do, or that stranger factor that you have when you do that initial consult with somebody. The same thing when you finish a project. Maybe you're delivering that service and they want to follow up and provide more after the sales service. A best example of this has been a heat pump installation company, where they come out, they install one in your home or in your business, and they spend a few minutes showing you how to use it, how to use the remote, how to clean the filters, all that. You don't normally retain that. But a company that has a proper after the sales service process, where they can send out automated information, maybe some videos, now that consumer has a resource. There's a utility there that they can take that information and really learn what they need to use their product a lot better. And if their competition doesn't have that, they're going to stand out, heads and tails above everyone else. So there's a lot of things you can automate to really make your life a lot easier.
Yeah, I really love that concept, especially of I think you called it an indoctrination campaign. I've heard it called a welcome sequence or a nurture sequence. But something I talk about a lot is building relationships, and that people aren't going to buy from you if they don't know anything about you. So that's a great way to start helping people know more about you, especially if they booked a call with you and you're not going talking with you. So I really love that concept, the aftercare. That's a great concept as well, but most people don't think about it. They think, oh, we're done now and time to move along. So what would you say is the best place for entrepreneurs who have zero automation? What would be the best place for them to start with implementing some of this?
The first thing you need to do, and I do this with new clients that we onboard that have nothing in place, is I give them a piece of homework that says, sit there and list out, right? It can be on a piece of paper, it can be on a computer, whatever it is. Somebody did it on Post-it notes on their wall once, and it was really cool. But list out everything that you do, that you can think of that you do. And then assign them in kind of like three columns. One is things that you actually love to do, things that you're okay to do, and things you absolutely hate to do, and then rank them by the amount of time it takes you to do them in there. So the ones that you hate to do, what we do is we try to see if there's a solution to automate some of that stuff. So if it's, you're getting the same questions being emailed to you in your business, you got to sit there and you got to retype it. Well, let's put in an email template. Whether it's just a Gmail plugin that you can build those templates and just load them and send them, that's a bit of automation, right? It doesn't have to be a full-blown automated system, but it's eliminating that repetitive time you spend over and over again. Or maybe you're doing sales calls. You got a salesperson that's making a call to a lead that came in, they get the voicemail. Okay, so they have to leave a voicemail message. Then they're going to follow up and send an email. Then they have to put something in the calendar to follow up. Well, if we have a system in place that they add a note to that file in their CRM or their database that automatically adds the note, sends the email, and follow up, books an appointment for 3 days to call back, multiply that by 10, 20 calls a day, saving 5-10 minutes, they can make an extra 10 or 20 calls in the end of the day, right? It's those little movements, right? Those little bits of energy move big mountains, right? And that's really what we want to do, is free up little bits of time. And when we compound that over multiple occurrences, we end up getting back a lot of time. And we found with clients we work with, either they want to get more money in their business or they want more time, right? So you're either going to invest in learning to do something or you're going to pay somebody to do it for you.
Got it. So you just mentioned a CRM, and I know this is something that's really important to kind of track all of your customers and your leads and various activities they do. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So that term CRM, it's been around for many, many years. It stands for Customer Relationship Manager or Management. CM's kind of versatile when you can do it, but it's ultimately a database. So what you need in a CRM is the ability to store contact information and that vital information you need to know about that customer, whether they're a new lead, a customer, a past customer, so forth. And every business has different requirements in there. Now you can have CRM systems like Infusionsoft that you can do, an online invoicing and billing and e-commerce and all that. Or you can use something like ActiveCampaign, which is another one, actually the one we're using in our business, where you can do that indoctrination. People can fill out a web form on your website and they can get that information, they can follow up, it can reach out to you and things of that nature. But a CRM ultimately is starting to build your own list. And that's a big key point, is a lot of people are going to focus coming out of the gate with social media where they're like, I need to build this huge Facebook audience or this huge Twitter following. But ultimately, you don't own that list. Mm-hmm. Something can happen tomorrow where Twitter can change their algorithm, Facebook can change, and we've seen it happen where now you're not able to reach as many people. You have to pay them more to be able to reach this audience. Whereas still bring them into your system. Now you can follow up, right? Even if it's a matter of you looking through and seeing, okay, well, I'm going to call this group of people versus email them. You own that list, you own that media. And it's still a very vital way for people to communicate. Email, now text messaging is becoming more and more viable. But a CRM in any business, I don't think there's any business that I've ever come across that hasn't benefited from having a CRM of some sort. And that could be as little as just using MailChimp, right? Ultimately, you're still building a database of people that you want to market to and communicate with.
All right. So on the show, we obviously talk about social media a lot. So can you tell us how funnels and automation work together with social media?
Certainly. So no longer are we in an era where we can just hope that people just come to our website and engage with us there. When somebody comes to your website, whether they're, at that top of that funnel, they're in that awareness phase of they have this problem or they don't know if they have a problem, and they come to your website, that's where you can utilize your social media to put that right message into their life, right? So they're going to leave your website, and then later on the day, they're going to come online, and if they meet that target or their browser's been cookied, I don't want to get too technical, but it's that retargeting side of social media, then your message is going to come through. But knowing where are they in their customer journey, where are they in that customer experience, where you can use your social media to enhance it, right? You can educate them a bit more. It doesn't mean that everybody that hits your website, you want to blast them with a come buy with me, come, here's a sale, do all this kind of stuff. You need to date that prospect, right? It's the same thing when you think of it as dating is you don't go on that first date and you don't ask the question to marry them. You're going to want to, date them a bit more, find out more about them, show your best side and really show a general interest. The same thing works in social media. Now, once they become a customer, you can utilize that same type of platform to build that tribe and that audience using Facebook groups so that people have that elite experience where, they feel like they're part of something bigger than the general population who's not a customer of yours, right? We see a lot of clients using that type of platform to build that VIP group or so forth and utilizing those tools.
So, for example, one way you can use this would be to share something on social media about what you do and what challenge you help people with. You send them to the website, they browse around, and you have a services page. They land on a particular service. So, say you had a social media management page, for example, and then they look around it and then they go on with their lives. So the next step would be to create a retargeting ad for the people who have landed on this specific page because they're interested in this specific service. This is what you're saying?
Mm-hmm, exactly. So when somebody's coming to your website and they will use that social media management example, they hit that page, they get into a custom audience list. So now you're starting to tell them about the benefits of having somebody manage your social media, right? And that's what they see. Now, if you've got a CRM in place and they call you and they book an appointment and you start to put them through your sales process and maybe you've got a course where you're like, here, learn how to do it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You're also able to upsell them to becoming a client where you're doing it for them too. So we can have the CRM talk to your Facebook ads account and say, pull them out of this awareness list and put them into the nurture list. So now the messaging they see on Facebook coming through is ultimately the sponsored ad stuff, but the conversation changes from, hey, this is who we are and why we do what we do, to this is why we do what we do differently than anyone else, right? And then your positioning, and yet conversation has changed. And that's still coming back to that whole idea of the customer journey is when you develop your story, you're not the key character in that story. And we see this all the time in reading business website copy. If you go to a website, and the thing that's standing out is, hey, this is how great we are. We've been in your business for 20 years. We won all these awards. Ultimately, the prospect's like, who cares? Because that's not what they're thinking. They're like, what can you do for me? I have a problem. Talk about that in the next phase, right? Send that out in emails that come out, but don't put that out first because it's really saying, oh, we're so great and we just want your business. Whereas when you position the prospect or the customer as the hero in the journey and you're just the guide, just like any other movie, like The Karate Kid or any of those historic movies that are out there, there's that main character, but there's always the guide that carries them and teaches them what they need to do to overcome that hurdle and that obstacle. And that's what you need to do in your business and your marketing and your messaging and everything that you put out there. So that's really how it all plays together.
Yeah, that's a great point. And it's something that is really important when you're getting reviews and testimonial as well. If you're asking someone to give you a testimonial, usually what they'll say is, oh, you're great, they're great to work with. But something you need to ask them for is, okay, well, tell us about your experience and how it helped you and those kinds of things. So I think that's a really important concept for people to remember. All right, so what are some of the biggest mistakes people make when they're setting this automation funnel system for themselves?
So the first thing that I see all the time when somebody's trying to do it themselves is they'll hear about an automated system. We'll use like Infusionsoft or ActiveCampaign, and they'll go online and they'll read about all the features that it does. And they're like, okay, now how can I use that feature in my business, right? As opposed to going into it saying, here are the problems that I have. Can this solution fix those problems? It's more of trying to mold our business into that box versus how does that box fit into our business, right? And that's where that exercise of figuring out all the things that you do in the run of a day, which ones you like, which ones you don't like, and which ones you're okay with doing, can help you really figure out what the solution is. Because if you're not wanting or needing to sell online, you don't need a system that offers e-commerce or online invoicing, right? But if you do want to sell online, you do need a system that does that. And you don't want to get into the habit of getting a solution that only does 60 or 70% of what you need, and then you need to bring in a different solution that doesn't talk to that. Because then you're into that, what we call this multi-system chaos, where you're really becoming more disorganized that way. Or they bring on something that takes so much time for them to learn. They're not willing to learn. They're not willing to hand that torch off or empower somebody else in their team to really champion that. And the best success stories we've seen with clients has been those business owners who have made it a priority to empower somebody else on their team to really take this project on and run with it. Because if you're so busy running your business and you need a system, maybe you have your admin person take this on and learn it and really make it their own and be okay with it. And that's really what you need to do, is you need to give up that control and really just become another team member versus micromanaging and really kind of putting a stranglehold on that control.
Got it. Anything else you need to know?
No, but you did mention something in the previous question about asking for a testimonial. I wanted to give this is anytime you ask for a testimonial, a lot of people will say, can you give us a testimonial about about what you liked about us, right? Mm-hmm. And that's what people go into that saying, well, okay, so they want me to say all this great stuff. Well, what you should be asking is, in the testimonial, tell me what it was like before you started working with us, and what was one thing that changed that made you really, have a breath of fresh air or made you not stay awake at night, right? Because then they're starting to think about, what was it like before I worked with this company, and then what have they helped me do, all right? And they start to tell a story, right? So when you're giving those options for people giving testimonials, don't give them that rate us on a scale of 1 to 10, because your 7 is different than my 7, right? Every testimonial or any review or any comment thing we've ever done has been just an open box with an open-ended question, and really guide them. Tell them exactly what mindset you want them to think about, right? And that's where you're thinking about before they work with you and after. It's the before and after idea that can come across great in testimonials.
Absolutely. All right, where can my viewers head to learn more about you?
Yeah, so they can go to our website. We've got links to everything. It's bluecowmarketing.ca. And they can go there. They can read about what we do. There's not a big history on who we are that's there. It's really, this is how we help you do things. Our book, I don't have a copy sitting next to me. There used to be one. But, hold on. Let me grab it. The joys of Facebook Live, right? So there's a printed copy here, but when you go to the website and you try to leave, there's a pop-up that comes up. It's an exit intent, but it allows you to get a free digital copy of that book. It's called The Small Business Guide to Digital Marketing. It talks all about customer experience. It's about 36 pages long. It's a very light read, but it really goes a bit more in depth about the mentality, the philosophy, the things you need to overcome, and the things you need to think about in your business. And we utilize this for any business that we're working with or we want to work with. And that's the key in understanding marketing these days, is who do you want to work with, but ultimately, who don't you want to work with, right? Because starting out, that's another problem that people come up with, is they're so hungry to get business, they'll take anybody on, and it really dilutes the process. It really allows you to really not appreciate the work that you do and the value that you bring. So this allows you to help identify that. So I strongly recommend somebody, I never want to say this, but I recommend you come to my website and then try to leave, right? Because that's when the offer is going to pop up.
Got it. Well, everyone needs to leave at some point, right?
That's right. You all have to go home at some point. I do need to sleep at night, right? So.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Sean, for being here with me today and sharing this content and this value with our audience today. And we're gonna head over and check out the free book by leaving our site,
Yep.
and everyone else does too.
Excellent. Well, I appreciate being here today.
All right. Thank you everyone for watching, and I'll be back again next week at 10 a.m. for another episode of the Art of Online Marketing Live Show.